I hope that by now you've got the hang of cutting fabric, because for the following pieces, the back pocket bag, front pocket bag, and for the waistband lining that I have here, we're going to be cutting it from our lining fabric. And the lining fabric is this sort of a polyester, very slick, sort of silky feeling fabric. It tends to be very slippery, and when you're cutting the fabric, it tends to, both layers that sit on top of each other tend to slip and slide in all sorts of directions. So it can be harder to cut and harder to mark with precision. I mean, cutting it is actually easier, but making sure it's precise can be a bit harder. So take your time, you know, don't get worked up. There's good news too though, because I don't see a good and a bad side on this type of fabric. I just try to make sure that I cut everything from the same side, but apart from that, I really don't know if there's a difference. Maybe there is, probably there is, but I don't know about it. So we're going to be cutting these now. However, there's a few things I have to point out with these pattern pieces because they require some extra manipulation. We'll get into that. Okay, first of all about the back pocket bag. We're going to be cutting 4 of these, as you can see, but we need 2 slightly longer and 2 slightly shorter molds. Now, you see these 3 dashed lines here. Actually, what you need to do is you need to fold it upwards on the first dashed line. There we go. And fold it back down again on the second dashed line so that the first and the third one meet. There we go. So 2 like this, 2 like this. So we need 2 long versions and 2 short versions. The front pocket is, if possible, even more confusing. What you need to do is, you need to cut 2 with this extension here, and then cut 2 without that extension there. For each of these 2, yes, it gets more complex, you need to cut 1 with this extension on this side, and 1 without. So just fold on this line. Don't worry about these little straight lines, that's just an artifact of the pattern. Okay. So 1, you keep 2 with this, 1 like this, and 1 like this. 2 without this, 1 like this, and 1 like this. So in total we're gonna have 4 different shapes for this bag, and I probably should find a better way to illustrate it. Try to explain it here. But basically we want 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what we need to cut this. There's good news too. This waistband lining, just 1 simple draw cut. Hey, here's something I absolutely forgot to mention earlier. We're also going to be putting lining on the front, on the inside of your legs at the front, and to do that what I did is I laid out the pattern. This is the front block of our trousers, and there's actually a dashed line on it that you can see here. Hopefully see that dashed line. I just folded it back there, and then just trace the pattern once upside down here, and then once here correctly. Now I could have folded it double, traced it once and cut it, but to be honest, this fabric is so slippery that I just prefer to trace it twice, cut it twice. It's just less hassle than trying to get it not to slip too much when you're cutting it double. So this is a piece that I forgot to mention that you also have to cut from the lining fabric. Okay, I've marked all the pattern pieces on the lining fabric. I've got the fabric laid out in a single layer, so I drew certain things twice because I just find it to be easier. We've got the front here, the front trouser block up to where the lining stops. We get this 1 and 2, the mirror image of it, these 2. Then here we got our back pockets. We've got long versions, 2 long versions, and then we get 2 of the shorter variety, right there. Here we've got our 4 versions of our front pocket. We got this one that has the extension on the fly side and on the pocket side. This one which has the extension on the fly side but not on the pocket side. There's this one that has not the extension on the fly side, neither the extension on the pocket side. Oh, sorry, not on the fly side, but it has it on the pocket side. And then there's this one that has it not on the pocket side and also not on the fly side and also not on the pocket side. Boy, I'm confusing you. Okay, please ignore this one here. This is just me being an idiot. I laid out the pattern pieces, but then I also had to put in the waistband lining, and to make that fit better, I just moved this one down to around here. So these are all the pieces. I'm ready to cut this out, and after that we just have a bit more cutting to do in the interface. Okay, quick note about the finish of this leg lining here at the bottom. You should cut this with pinking shears if you have them. Pinking shears or these type of scissors, now these are horrible. They have like a sawtooth blade, so they cut zigzag. If you've got nice ones, you cut a really nice zigzag. If you have ones like mine, it looks a bit like rats just sort of chewed on your fabric. However, this will keep the fabric from raveling, and so it means we don't have to apply a seam or any other finish there, which is good because we don't want to show it through the fabric when you're wearing trousers. If you don't have pinking shears, you can just cut straight here on this line. But if you do, cut it with pinking shears, only this line. And of course, same on that part. I've cut out all the lining pieces. I've got them neatly piled up here, as you can see, all the different parts. The 4 versions of the front pocket, the back pockets, second back, 4 back pockets actually, the front leg and the waistband lining. There's no need to transfer any pattern marking on these pieces. That's not necessarily for the lining, just cut them out and we're done. We're almost done here. The only thing left to do is cut out this piece I, the back pocket interfacing, which should be cut out of interfacing fabric. Now, we're going to be using fusible interfacing. I don't know if this shows up very well on camera, but you get like a very sort of a shiny side to this interfacing. That's like a coating of plastic on it. And then just like a dull side. This is fusible interfacing. What that means is that we're going to cut out a piece like this, and if you iron this onto your fabric, you put the shiny side onto, let's imagine this paper is fabric, you put the shiny side onto your fabric, and then you iron it from this side, and then the interfacing will actually stick to your fabric, and that adds some strength to your fabric. And we're actually going to be using this at the back pockets, at the welt pockets, to give them some extra strength, because it's an area that gets a lot of wear and tear. This is a pretty lightweight fusible interfacing. Your fabric shop should stock this. They typically come in different weights, so you get really stiff stuff, and then this doesn't have to be stiff because you don't want to see it through the trousers. It's also dark because we're using dark fabric. Typically this also comes in white. So I'm going to cut that out now. That's the last thing we have to cut today. As you can see, I got 4 of them marked, and I'm going to be cutting them out now, if I don't get caught in. There's no real grain line in this interfacing fabric. So, just align them in an economic way on whatever interfacing you've got, and cut them out. Okay, all done here. Got 4 of these babies cut out. You don't want to go with an iron near them until it's that time in our construction process when I'll tell you to do this. Apart from these 4, all of the pattern pieces, what I would propose is that you give them a gentle ironing so that they're nice and flat. Now, don't put it too warm. That lining fabric, some lining fabric really doesn't handle heat very well. Also, wool, be careful, don't iron them too hot, just iron them gently so that they're nice and flat, and that you're well prepared to start the next leg of our journey in Trousers from Scratch, which will be part 4, and I think we'll probably get around to doing some sewing. Bye.